Hi, welcome to Tales from the Tap. My name is Frankie, and this is my co-host,
Stan the Man.
We are excited to talk to you about Constructed after we've gotten some time with Duskmorn, but also, Stan, I heard that there's some Commander things that were happening today.
I'm going to ramble, so we'll save that for after housekeeping. I got a lot to say. I do have a lot to say, actually, but people have been asking me my opinion on it like hundreds of times at this point.
Non-stop.
Since it's happened. And I've talked to so many different people about it, which kind of is good. I mean, it's helped me solidify and reinforce what I already think they should do. But I've been in the industry for so long, I kind of like have strong opinions. With that being said, I heard your house is falling apart that you just bought.
Yes. So I came home Thursday, and did I ever tell you like what happened on Friday and Saturday, like after I had plumbers come out?
No, you literally were like, life is effing me in the A. And I was like, man, I'm sorry. But I was
did say
super
that.
busy because I think we had like a 20-person Two-Headed Giant for the flashback pre-release. You missed them both, dude.
I know.
But yeah,
man.
we had so many people here. I was like, I'm sorry, bro, but also not sorry because I'm busy.
Yeah. So I came home on Thursday, and I had water in my house. Like it was about half an inch.
Lovely.
That was like in like a chunk that's probably like this big. And so I cleaned it up. Plumber came out the next day, and he's like, yeah, so it's not a pipe in the wall, which is good. But he's like, basically, your main sewer line for like all of these places is super backed up. And you have the lowest drain of everyone. So because yours is the lowest, when it overflows into your unit.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
Nice.
awesome.
We love that.
So I had to have, and he couldn't even do anything about it because he's like, yeah, because you have a homeowners association, their plumber has to do it. And I was like, oh.
Yep. Right. Really
But
nice.
on the positive side, it's not like something in the house.
Yeah.
So it's like not, that's not a
More or
huge
less
expense.
they should be fixing it.
Yes.
good at
And
least.
yeah, my insurance is going to cover it. So I'm pretty much going to get like a free bathroom redone
Cool.
via
Hey,
my insurance.
Can't complain.
So can't complain about that. But all my piping is also blown. So he like looked under all my sinks, and he's like, yeah, they basically look like they repaired this like a million times. So I
Yeah.
can fix it for you, but it's probably going to re-break.
That's like a nightmare for me with like buying a product that's expensive, like buying a car or a house or anything. You're always like worried that somebody's trying to sell you a lemon or just.
I was sold a
not-
lemon.
I feel like you got like not the worst thing in the world, but
No,
like,
no, no,
At
no.
the same time, they were like, "Oh, patch these 2 or 3 things up and hope that the duct tape holds." You know what I mean? It's like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah, it was one of those things where like he turned the sink on and it didn't leak, but after you like leave it on for a little bit longer, then it does leak.
Yeah,
So I will like once he comes out and does this stuff on Thursday, and then I get done with the insurance people.
Yeah.
My house is gonna be cooking. It's gonna be like, wow, this place is incredible.
Yeah.
But it's definitely costing me my dollars.
Sure, that is rough. So please sub to the Patreon if
Yeah.
you want to help support and
Help.
keep Frank's water.
This
not
is my
leaking.
GoFundMe. So
Anyways, speaking of the shop popping out for pre-release, like we said earlier, Duskmorn pre-release, man, actually insane. I think we talked about it last time, but Bloomborough had really big numbers, but Thunder Junction had like insane numbers. Where like, don't call the fire marshal, but like I think I have space for like 50 ish, 52 seats. If I use all my tables, maybe it's 56. Duskmorn and Thunder Junction, I'm like capping at like 70 people in the store. And I'm just like, Jesus, man, like what am I going to do? And I don't want to turn people away. I always feel bad.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
people are like, oh, I really want to, do you have one more spot open? I'm like, yeah, man, I'll try to figure it out. We can play at the counter or
Play at the
something.
play in the
you know what
glass.
I mean, it does feel like the old days, like honestly. And for what it's worth, I have a pretty decent size of game store for like
big comparatively. And I go to a lot of game
yeah.
stores.
I've been to quite a few for RCQs. I'm like, 12 seats, nice,
24. Okay.
Yeah. Sweet, that's a big one. But like I think in the area, it's like me, Nerd Rage Pastimes, and like Hot Sauce have like bigger seating.
Yeah.
For like 50 plus people.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been crazy, but I'm super happy with it. I think Duskmorn, of all the sets to pop off, it's pretty cool. I didn't see a lot of kids, though, like we were talking about. I was hoping some kids would show up, They were like, Bloomborough was so cute. And
What's
I
this
was like,
twitching doll?
Yeah.
Spidey's.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
But yeah, just crazy. And then the flashback pre-release. This is the first one that really popped off because like the first one we didn't get the word out fast enough. So Ty was like, "Should we keep doing Two-Headed Giant?" I was like, "Yes, it's Two-Headed Giant flashback. That's what we're doing." And then the second one, like we had good numbers but not great numbers. And he's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Just post the Two-Headed Giant flashback." And then this time it was like, I thought it was gonna be like 12 teams. It ended up being 20, which is like 40 people. And then I saw all these Commander players and everything. That was the flashback, not even like the actual pre-release where we had like 70.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, damn, like that's awesome. Like so many people enjoying it. And one, Two-Headed Giant Sealed is just like S tier format. If you don't get it to appreciate some Two-Headed Giant Sealed, even if it's just like with some homies and you can't do a full event, definitely worth buying some pre-release kits for, in my opinion. It's a good time. And you get to really like learn the format too, because you're never going to get that power level ever with like 12 packs, build 2 decks out of it. It's cracked. It's cracked.
Yeah, it's almost like playing Constructed.
Yeah, it feels like you're playing a block format or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because like I actually, you weren't here, so this kid was here on the 6 o'clock pre-release for the actual pre-release weekend. And poor guy didn't have anybody to play with, but that's what I'm here for, right? Everybody's packed. I'm like, anybody not have a partner want to play? Like literally everybody got paired up. I paired up all the people that didn't have partners already. Dude shows up, doesn't have a partner. His friends are all paired up. He has like a group. It's like a 5-person group. I'm like, listen, I'll play with you. I'm like, oh, you got the shop owner. Oh, you know what I mean? Like the memes. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. I carry you, no problem.
And did you?
And oh yeah, super carried. Like if anything, we should have gone 3-0, but I was greedy in game 3. Between him and I, we both had the white impending. And he's like, oh, I should play Boros. I have the white impending. And I was like, well, I'm building Orzhov. And he's like, oh, I should give it to you? I was like, yeah, you should give it to me. And I should play 2 of these guys. But he had the red impending. So I was like, he's like, I should play red-green. I was like, yeah, you solved it. So we literally built him like the gross aggro red-green deck. Like all his deck was 2s and 3s. And he had the impending as like his top end. But a lot of his cards were draw, discard, 2s and 3s, some Delirium. And then the regrowth that has a manifest that we talked about, really strong card, so they could never get rid of his impending. Like he just buys it back. It was crazy. Unfortunately, so like in the first 2 rounds, we were crushing. I think we literally lost like 7 life in 2 matches. So we were like just completely obliterating people.
Jeez Louise.
Match 3, I have a 7 that's like, and we have free mulligans into a giant, so I was super greedy. My 7 was 3 lands, a removal spell, and then 2 of my 6 or 7 drops. One of them was like the gain 2, draw 2, they lose 2 and something like that. The guy you're supposed to reanimate, it's like black, white.
Yeah.
And then another one was like, I think the guy that's like ETB.
Shroud Stomper,
yeah, Shroud Stomper. And then the other one was they have to sacrifice a non-token and a token creature or something like that.
Oh yeah, the 7 drop.
Yeah, I forget the name of it, but it was like something like that. And I was like, oh, this is good. Like I should keep it. Realistically, I should have mulliganed because it was just 1 removal spell. But my friend's hand was really good. Like 3 lands, all gas. And I'm like, oh, 3 lands. That's perfect because we have 16 lands in your deck. You might not even draw any more lands, but you don't need them because you can cast every spell already. Let's go. He literally only draws lands the rest of the game somehow. He gets to a point where he has double of the mill guy. And every upkeep, he's like, should I mill? I'm like, yes, we're milling. Mill 2. He milled like 30 cards, never hit the impending guy, and only drew lands. And what I couldn't get him to stop doing was instantly play his land down. He's like, draw land, play land. I'm like, don't do that. But he kept doing it.
You can't pitch.
Exactly.
You
he
can't
ended up drawing the pitch spell
discards.
and was like, oh, I can't cast this. I was like, that's why we don't play the land right away. And he was like, oh. But I was like, well, you're learning, bro, so don't worry about it. Like, I had to teach 6 people that pre-release about summoning sickness. So I was like, oh, okay, it's like that.
Oh,
like
it's like that.
There was a yes. And even with that, how bad that was, we were still like a turn away from stabilizing against these guys. But I had a judge call that same event. It was awesome. They go like, hey, this guy has 2 blockers. My guy is a 4/4. I assumed it was like order of attacks, like I did earlier for your judge call with Brandon today at our standard event. So I was like, okay, cool. So before anything damaged, before all that stuff, you have to choose the order you're going to attack, or the order your guy's going to damage them. And they're like, no. The question is, I have a 4/4 and he has a 0/2 and a 2/2. What happens? And I was like, the guys blocking die. And then everybody was like, see, we told you. And then the guy was just like, well, I've been playing Magic wrong the whole time. I was like, what do you mean? Oh, no. I don't know what he thought was going to happen. I really should have asked. But I was like, well, I'm glad you guys are, I'm glad it's resolved.
I'm glad it's worked out.
But that was the end of the weekend for me, too. I was exhausted. I was like, you know what, man? You guys are good. Good luck. But that being said, pre-release was awesome. Frank's figuring out his house stuff. That's pretty much all the small talk I think we have. Getting to some quick housekeeping before I hit you guys with my commander. I don't know, what do we call it? A rant?
Rumble?
I don't think I'm going to go that hard, but I definitely want to get my opinions out there, and then we'll see how it goes. With that being said, quick housekeeping. As always, we mentioned it earlier, you want to support the show, the best way you can support us is on Patreon. It helps keep the lights on, helps get us new microphones, stuff like that, increase the quality of the show. Eventually, we'd like to invest in a microphone. We'll see how it goes. Frank just bought 2 boxes of Dustborn because he needs impending creatures for the RC this weekend. By the time you guys are listening to this, he should already be down there and in DC, right?
DC.
And he's going to be playing with our boys. Hopefully, get some good day 2s. I'm really hoping people can day 2. That's like the goal for me. Is if I went to the RC, I'd want a day 2 minimum.
Right.
Obviously, when the event is nice, but we're not all Adam Weiss or whatever. You can't just expect to shot people out of the format.
Right.
Although maybe you can nowadays with red flag.
The deck is good.
It's a very good deck. And then the second best way you can support us is on YouTube. If you're watching, hopefully you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, you can watch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. If you're on YouTube, you want to please just check below if you're subscribed, like, comment. It really does go a long way for us. We've been getting a ton of new subscribers, so if you're one of our new viewers, welcome to the show. As always, we want to keep the show free for you guys, but it really, really does help us go a long way in the algorithm if you follow, even just watch the video for 60 seconds and then put us in the background while you're playing a video game or whatever. Listen to the hot takes. The next thing you should do if you want to support is join our free access Discord. I think some people were actually in the store recently going like, oh, the Discord I heard is for Patreons only. I was like, no. Everybody can join the Discord. Hit me up, add me on Discord, get in there. We have certain perks that are Discord locked for patrons, but that's like coaching and sideboard tech and stuff like that. But we're always happy to just chat with anybody in the Discord and keep it active and talk about what we're doing in there, especially with all the new stuff popping off. I haven't been able to play any Magic lately, and very little. Yeah. And I wanted to draft Duskborn so bad, I haven't gotten even one.
And I'm not kidding, because of me missing all this pre-released, I'm so bummed. I got one in. I went to a midnight on Thursday. Won the event of it was 6 of us, but I took first, and then I've been drafting like crazy because this set is so fun. Yeah. And because I missed out on pre-release, I've been itching.
Really good. Really good set.
And I've gotten a few trophies already. I'm feeling good.
I can't say it enough. But when Wotc does right, you gotta acknowledge it, man. And the design team has been crushing it with these limited formats. At least in my opinion. Yeah. I'm watching the drafts that people are posting in Discord, and whenever somebody's streaming, I'll try to watch the gameplay, and I'm like, dude, this is so cool, man.
So cool.
I just want to sit down and draft. I missed the days where I was a CNA and I only worked 3 days a week because I had 12 to 14 hour shifts, and I could just take a whole day off to just play Magic or something. But anyways, if you want to support the show, like we said, Patreon, YouTube, Spotify, and we'll have more new merch ideas coming out soon on our page. But you can check out our merch page; it should be in the link in the description.
Yeah, and if you're hey, this is some merch that I'd be interested in, please hit us up on Discord or YouTube before we make it, so we can make sure to try when we're talking to our artists, include some of that for you.
Oh yeah, if you guys have feedback about the merch, we're always happy to take ideas to adjust what we're doing. We just kind of come up with stuff and go, hey artists, can you do this? Put it on a shirt, whatever. And then the website we order from will just send you the shirt idea. I'm actually kind of wearing my worn out one. It's at this point,
it's starting. It's really starting to crinkle.
Bad, but this is my Tales from the Tap logo that I've been wearing for a year now. And how long have we been doing the podcast together?
It's been about a year and a half.
So I bought this pretty soon after we started playing or started doing the podcast together. And so it's been a while. But with that being said, that's pretty much all the housekeeping we got for today. I know you guys have been hearing my voice a lot, but you're going to hear Frank a lot at the end of the episode because he's going to have a lot to say about Standard and Pioneer, etc. And I'm actually curious to hear about it too because I want to hear what his thoughts are on the format. I've only been able to spectate and read I haven't been able to play, so I'm more or less a viewer like you guys at the moment. But with that being said, let's jump into this Commander talk. So a lot of you guys have been asking me about Commander. If you haven't asked, well, I'm going to tell you anyway. Any askers? Me. But first of all, if you guys disagree or you guys feel like I didn't cover something or you want to talk about a specific issue or thought or opinion on the topic, hit me up at Discord, comment on the video. If we have a disagreement, why you disagree, I'd love to have a dialogue about it. I'm always down to talk about the nuances of Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast, how they should run their business, etc. But more or less, I don't know if you guys saw today, but we actually delayed recording the podcast by one day. We usually record on Sundays. It's actually Monday night after my standard event. So we're both exhausted.
Very tired.
And I probably look like crap, and my hair is probably a mess because I need a haircut, but I've been too busy to get one. Even on my days off, I couldn't get a haircut. And so it's the end of the night for us. And because we waited a day, we actually got this big announcement from Wotc on the future of the Commander format. And more or less, they took the reins in the format, which is crazy because I basically said that I've been saying they should do that for like 10 plus years. But when the announcement happened with Mana Crypt, Jewel Lotus, Dockside,
Extortionist.
well, Dockside and Nadu. I never can remember Nadu because that's the card that like should have been banned.
Yeah.
But it's like when they did the ban announcement, I was like, wow, this is a really egregious error, a terrible decision, no logic involved. Realistically, like so many people were in the store arguing, like trying to put logic to the decision. I'm like, guys, there's not really a lot of nuance to it. There's nothing they can do to really justify what they said in the article. It was contradictory. So like you're applying logic where there is none. And that felt like, to me, I think I was talking with Jared and some other people in Discord, like, oh, well, this is finally their excuse to end the rules committee if they ever really wanted to. And they literally did it within a week. I thought it was going to take like a month for them to want to do it. You know, they were just like, oh, you know what? Yeah, it's over. And honestly, I'm really happy about it. I think that it should have always been under the design team to do the bans for Commander ever since he decided to make it like an official format. People keep saying like, is EDH going to become sanctioned format? It's like, it's always been a sanctioned format. I can literally run Commander tournaments. It's in Event Link. It's just been considered casual sanctioned, which is dumb. Calling a format that you can play competitively casual by any means is illogical. It just doesn't make any sense. People are going to try to win if you make a tournament. So like,
yeah, if you make a tournament, people are going to try and win.
By definition.
Right.
With that being said, though, I liked the idea, like when it was EDH and it was just Sheldon and his boys creating the format back in like 06 or more or less whenever they started. I was still like in middle school or high school. And obviously like when I was in high school, I wasn't like super like top tier, like, or even that knowledgeable of the game.
You were in middle school.
I was in middle school for that time,
right?
2006, but that was when I was starting to play the game. Like,
got it. Yeah, because I was like,
high school.
We're the same age, and I didn't start high school till 09.
Yeah, for me it was 08.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that's when I started playing Magic though, or like discovering the card games and getting really into them. But I was a casual. I mean, I was a child, you know. So for me, it was never like something I really paid attention to until I got super into it in high school. And then it was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we play. There's people that play Commander, and then there's people that play competitive, you know. And it wasn't like we called Commander casual, but it was like the hangout format, and it was honestly a lot of fun. I wish more people were into Commander when I was in high school. Where I was, it was very freeform, very like low. Like once I got good or like better, and then like I started playing with other people that would go to like FNMs and stuff. I was like, oh, the guys at school suck. They don't know what they're doing. Got it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the kind of people that you walk into the room and they have 4 Soul Rings in their deck, but then the deck's like non-functional. You're like, yeah, for sure. All your cards have colored pips and you have 4 Soul Rings. Smart.
Yeah. I mean, I had like kitchen sink magic when I was in high school.
Yeah,
so it was like literally like whatever we had.
Yep, kitchen table, freeform, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
That is honestly most Magic players, which is why I think there's a weird disconnect that people don't understand that like, I think the number is like something like 25 to 30 million Magic players. It could be that high now because of how like mainstream it is now. And most of those players are like kitchen sink, freeform. I'm playing at school with my friends. I'm playing at home with my homies. I like for all the talk about how I get 70 something players here for a pre-release, and we're in a pretty highly congested area for game stores. Like I'm pretty sure when I'm getting like 50 for pre-release, Nerd Rage and Pastimes are also getting something along those numbers as well. So like in the area, there's dozens of stores for Chicagoland that are getting a large amount of players for pre-release.
Wow.
And most of them are still coming in. I still get more people that are like, I want to just buy the kits and I'm going to get out of here. So it's like
50 million is what
50?
Google is telling me.
Okay, so that's way higher than I expected actually, because I remember like 2020-ish, it was like 20 million. So like Post Malone, mainstream, COVID, yes, Magic got more popular. So yeah, I'm not actually surprised by that number. For me, my safe estimate was 30. But yeah, there's a lot of Magic players, and like a large chunk, I would say half, is like freeform or more. And then there's like the people that are like not quite freeform, but not quite, I want to go to the store all the time. I still want to just play at home with my friends, come to the shop, buy my singles, buy my sealed product, and get out of here. We do whatever we want. It's like the people that are like online with the Uno memes. You ever seen like the Uno? It's like, you can't stack draw twos. And then people are like, all the comments are literally like, thanks for the cards, we'll take it from here.
Yeah,
right. You know what I mean? That's most players.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And so there's a weird disconnect, but I get to I guess I'm kind of blessed I get to see it because I get to see so many people. I think I told you I've probably in my like 6 years owning a store, couple years of I guess
managing,
being part owner and then part operator with Gaming Goat. I've been doing servicing of Magic for like 8-9 years, and I've been playing the game for like 15. So like I've been in it forever. Not as long as obviously some people. So I like getting feedback and like discussing with other people. I always want to hear everybody's thoughts, just like kind of like gauge it against what my current perception is. But I've probably serviced like 5-figure people in like different individuals, and like I see monthly 4-figure easily in the store, like different people that I'm looking at. And it's weird because like Todd and I can actually check the metrics now with like our back end, and we'll see like how many different people were at the store, and we're like, dude, I actually can't believe it, because like when we started in 2019, we were like nobody, you know.
Yeah.
At least for like brand new store. So like I'm kind of blessed, but I get to see anecdotally a pretty big chunk of like players, and there's so many casual players that just want to play Commander. And I just think the rules committee was not only like outdated in their methodology, I just don't think they should have existed at all to begin with. Like, it's weird to me that when they acknowledged it as an actual sanctioned format, Wotc was like, oh yeah, it's a sanctioned format, but we're going to keep letting them do their thing. And I'll be honest, I think partially it had to do with Sheldon having cancer. They're like, well, it's his baby, and I'm assuming they know more on their end. They're like, oh yeah, prognosis is not looking good. Well, let's let him keep running it, you know, because he's such a pillar of the community. And I agree on that level. I respected their decision to keep it Sheldon's baby as it went along. But once he passed away, you know, rest in peace, Sheldon. But like, there really wasn't a reason to keep the rules committee going. And like, I kind of find it kind of cringe. But a lot of the rules committee today were posting like, oh, we let down his memory. We didn't want this. Because like Wotc, I don't think discussed it with them that they were going to take over. I don't know if they fully discussed it or not, but that's what it seems like was
Ooh, that's spice.
Well, that's what it seems like the narrative is the rules committee or people on it didn't know Wotc was going to take it over. At least that's what I saw last, because it's only been like a day, and I don't really go on Twitter that much. It's not my favorite website. But anyways, I saw a lot of the complaints, and I was looking at the tweets that people were sending to me that were like, oh, this person said this person said this, and I'm like, listen, man, I first of all, obviously, I admonish, or whatever the word is, anybody sending death threats. I think that that's cringe. If you're actually on the internet actively trying to antagonize or be malignant towards other people, you are a cancer, you're toxic, you are worthless. But I already think that about those people. Like, we already agree, like, those people should touch grass. You know, like, they are basically nothing. I mean, I was telling you today how, like, literally on TCG Player, some customer called me, like, a fat ass or some shit randomly out of nowhere.
No context.
No context. Just like, refund me, you fat F word. And I'm like, Todd sends me the message. I'm like, I don't know what I did to that guy. I sent him his product, I guess. And, like, why should I take that? You should mute that mic, by the way, while I'm rambling. Why should I take that to heart if it doesn't really mean anything. It's just a stranger on the internet. Obviously, it's one thing when it's like you're getting bombarded, but that's what you mute your phone for. I don't know. Like, you don't need to be on the internet. And if people are harassing you, block it. If you're seeing a ton of it, stop looking at it. Like, I know it sounds like just don't read it, but like literally just don't read it. Like, and if you are reading it, you really shouldn't let it affect you as much as it is, or you should like take a break from it, honestly. So like, that's what's
and you kind of see that a lot. Like, even with people
Everybody
that like
gets it.
get internet famous and they don't want to be, where they just like, I'm going off the grid for like 2 months, everyone dies down, and then
yeah, you like give it a week. It's always like to give it
Yeah,
2
yeah.
weeks and it's gone, but they wouldn't give it a week. They were just like, oh, this is happening, and to me, the only issue I have with it is because, one, listen, I'm a nobody, and I've even gotten like death threats. I've been told to rope myself for having the wrong political opinion. I've been told like my literal opinion or voice doesn't matter. I should never speak. Like, all kinds of crazy shit. And I'm like, these are people I've met in person that are saying this stuff to me.
Right.
And you're complaining about random strangers on the internet? Who cares, you know? My issue with it is it feels like they try to make that the narrative. Oh, all these death threats are coming in. It's like, okay, dude, it's probably like a percent of the people that are upset are saying this.
Sure.
It's like a way to me, it's like a way of deflecting criticism. It's like, listen, obviously that happened. That's terrible. We agree with you. That's terrible. But at the same time,
Agree,
you
not
guys
cool.
messed up. You're kind of deflecting. And I don't like when that becomes like let's make this the narrative, you know?
Sure.
So like, at the end of the day, I'm like,
Right, because then no one cares about like why people are upset.
Right.
They just care about like
well, like the 99%, you know?
Right. They care about like the couple percent of people that are just ridiculous.
Exactly. And we can all agree like their opinion doesn't matter. We can disregard and then move on. What are the real qualms? Let's talk about those. And if they came out and just talked about those, I'm like, okay, well, here's our thoughts, blah, blah, blah. I think it would have been a little more reasonable. Or even just like, hey, I'm exhausted. I do this for free. I don't work for Wotc. Peace out. You know, which I thought was also reasonable that a couple of people on the rules committee did themselves. Because like one guy, like we mentioned earlier, I don't know if we actually mentioned it on the podcast, but in Discord we were talking about it, and some guy in the rules committee wasn't even discussed. Like, he didn't get asked his opinion, and he's like, well, they're not even talking to me, so I'm out. And it's like, okay, that's fair, you know? With that all being said, like, negative stuff aside, I am super happy with the announcement, and one of the things in the article I really want to talk about, which was, first of all, I wish I mattered more in Magic, because this is an idea I've had like 10 years ago. But like, I've been wanting to, and like back when I was like streaming and like I worked less days a week, I wanted to do like a tier list, kind of like, you don't play Pokemon, right?
No.
Oh, man, I wish you did. But for anybody in the audience that watches Pokemon or plays Pokemon, you might know a Pokemon website called Pokemon Showdown, but it's like a fan-made website that's been around for the longest time, and they have their own metagame and their own tier list that's separate from the video game, because the video game doesn't really honor 1 versus 1s. That most of the game format is 2 versus 2, and so for their formats, they literally use their own data from the website to like tier list Pokemon into like separate categories. So then they're not really banned. It's like, oh, you can't play that Mon in this
Tier.
format because it's too powerful. So
Sure.
they'll have like Ubers, everything's unbanned, and they're like, okay, here's Overused, which is like the main format. These guys are banned, so like the vintage guys are banned. You can play Legacy, and then they have Underused, which is like the equivalent of like Modern, and then they have Rarely Used and then Never Used. So they have like 5 formats, and it's like, okay, cool. Your guy is too powerful, he's at the top tier. Your guy is not good enough for that tier, then he goes to this tier. And if they're too strong, they'll constantly check the data to be like, okay, this guy's getting pushed out, he's getting moved to Ubers. Oh, this guy down here is too strong, we're going to move him up here. This guy actually sucks, we're going to let him get played down here, etc.
Sure.
And so it's like purely based on data. It's all analytical. And not just that, but they have like, because they're like a fan-made website, they have their own like high-level community where like anybody that's above a certain rank can vote, and they're like, oh, we're thinking about this, what do you guys think? And then they do the vote, and then they apply it based on that, which is really cool. But that's all fan-made. Commander doesn't need to be that anymore because it's a sanctioned format, and Wotc makes like thousands of products for it at this point.
Specifically for it.
It's specifically for it.
Which is, right, I'm not all in on a lot of like what's happening within Commander. Like I play Commander with some people here at the store. It's a good way for me to like unwind.
Yeah.
But the fact that it wasn't under, because again, I had no idea about the rules committee or any of this. The fact that it's not under Wotc, I'm like, so many cards that I pull from packs. I'm like, this is made for Commander.
Right.
It will never be played in Constructed.
Right.
Unless you're Nadu. But
Designed for Commander, by the way.
yeah, right.
But yeah, so
Bang.
like to your point, that's also why I've never in the store wanted to do Commander tournaments. I think I've done like single digit Commander tournaments, and they've always been like really low bar. Everybody gets prize support because as soon as you do a Commander tournament, 2 guys show up with CEDH decks and like, I'm going to play this. And it's like, how is that the same? You know what I mean? So somebody goes like Commander tournament and I literally go cringe. No.
Well, and speaking of that, that makes me think of when you were talking about Magic, like back when you were in high school. Because for me, when I was in high school, there was this guy that would come to the Gaming Go at Oak Park. I believe his name was Rodney.
Sure.
And he would be like, hey, you guys want to play Commander? And like we were high schoolers, so we had budget Commander decks. And he'd be like, yeah. And we'd sit down and he'd like turn 4 combo kill us. And I'm like, was that good for you, man? Like to like bring us high schoolers over for us to play with the budget that we had to like for you to kill us turn 4? Like, come on.
And there's something to be said about that. But like, could you imagine that? But like, it's like an FNM. Like you all paid $5 to play. You know what I mean? Like that's why to me, I'm like, why would I run a Commander tournament? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. There's no logic to it. It's all subjective. It doesn't make any sense. So the fact that they're thinking about this tiered format now, I'm like, oh my god. First of all, it's an idea that I think is good because I've had it, and I think that they're gonna cook in my opinion because they in the article said, hey, we're receptive to feedback. Think of it like a beta. They literally said, think of this like a beta. We want to try a tiered system. We want to try more objectivity, which I think all of that sounds amazing personally. And they're like, give us your ideas. So like if anybody from Wotc's watching, bro, you know, like here's my thoughts. But I like what they said about how like level 1 is like pre-con level, like pre-con level / like low power staples. That's what, like in my opinion, like where I see it. Like low power staples to me are like austere command, where like that card like is from Lorwyn. So like when Commander was popular in 2010 or 11 for us, that was like a $20 card because it was so good. It was like, oh, destroy like basically whatever you want, toolbox card, you know. Now it's like in 6 precons, I want to say, that are white decks, and it's a $1 card.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's a bad card. It's just not the power level anymore. It's not like a super busted card. It's just like a, oh yeah, pretty good field nuke. That's like restricted, and hits artifacts, hits enchantments, hits big creatures, hits small creatures. Nobody's gonna complain about that. It's also 6 mana, like whatever. So like if I wanted to run a tournament as a store, I used to love running pre-con tournaments, but what people would want is like, oh, I want to do pre-con tournaments, but can we change some of the cards? And it's like, first of all, we already have the issue with Soul Ring being in the decks. So like a pre-con pod can just have a guy pop up with Soul Ring. It's like, sure. And if they want Soul Ring to stay at the pre-con level, I guess I just don't agree. But fast mana should like not be allowed at the pre-con level. Whether that means they're going to stop putting Soul Rings in the pre-release decks, who knows? But like, to me, it's like it'd be cool if people could come to a tournament that I'm hosting and be like, hey, pre-con EDH. Everybody gets a pre-con. Everybody gets 20 minutes. You can bring whatever cards you want as long as they're level 1 cards. You can switch cards in the deck for them, and then we're going to play after 20 minutes of editing or whatever. And you can use the collector pack that you opened in your pre-release kit to like edit as well, whatever. Because they're low power level changes, I think that'd be fine. Nobody would care. The problem we'd have is that if we ever tried that, where like you can change 5 cards in the deck. That's what we've tried in the past, you know? Like, you can change 5 cards in the pre-con. Everybody gets whatever pre-con they want. Let's go. People are like, oh yeah, 5 combos or like 4 tutors in this card. You know what I mean? It's like, sure, man, let's just ruin it. So like, yeah, I definitely like the tiered system. To me, the way I would do it personally, this is like a rough draft because it's like just got announced, not a lot of thought. But I've thought about it in the past. It's like level 1 and like pre-cons, right? Level 2 to me would be like the legacy format. This would be like the one that you want to make tournament viable, where you ban all the fast mana, you ban like completely degenerate combos, you ban Nadu, obviously, stuff that's like just completely degenerate. Obviously, I don't mean Biorhythm, by the way, and what is it, Coalition Victory, like cards that definitely shouldn't be banned but still are banned for some reason. But like Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, Grim Monolith, Jeweled Lotus, like all these cards don't belong in like a level 2 format. That's like pretty low power level. And if they ban like 50, 60 cards to that level, you know, it's like that could be a really reasonable competitive format now where you're not trying to do the, hey guys, who's the Kingmaker? Did you have a counter spell for the combo? Okay, we all draw. Really fun, you know, like the Sam Black tweets. It's like, oh man, oh god, I want to play that format so bad.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I really want to play that format. Then, if for the people that really want to play like high power level but still do it tournament play, that's where I'd put level 3. It's like the vintage power level commander, high power level but still more or less tournament sustainable play, where you let people play Jewel Lotus because that card's awesome. Everybody obviously gets Soul Ring. Maybe you ban like 1 or 2 mana rocks, but not all of them. And then you can ban based on like really OP cards, like in that format. Like I think Nadu would still get banned in that format because it's just a terrible card that shouldn't have ever come out. But
I just love that Reaper meme where he's like, "Was I a good modern staple?" No.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And then to me, level 4 for me would be the one true format. The no bans, rule 0, do whatever you want. Go to the store. I'm playing Commander. What format are you playing? I don't know. That's what it is. That would be to me. Like level 4, no bans. Absolutely no bans. There should be at least one of these tiers that is just untouched. Like we don't ban cards. Another
I just
idea.
want Prophet of Krufrix.
Prophet of Krufrix to me is not even like that strong.
That's all I want.
I'll be honest. Like
just let me untap my lands every single turn.
I don't know why it's still banned. It doesn't really make sense to me. There's like Vivian and Seedborn Muse and all kinds of cards that do the same thing in Simic colors. It's like whatever. Even when it got banned back in the day, I was like, I wasn't worried about playing against Simic guys. I was crushing them. Why did you get rid of that opponent for me? Additionally, thoughts I have, just because they're taking ideas, I think that there's room for exploration. I'd love to see them experiment with different ideas, stuff that they've never done before. One specifically that I really like is from Weiss, actually, Sweet Card Game. It's actually pretty interesting, but they hate banning cards because it kind of sucks. Because in that game, you're picking an anime, and you're like, I want to play this anime. So they just ban a card out of your deck. It really kind of feels terrible. So they try not to like completely ban cards if possible. Obviously, there's always like problem cards, but one thing I like that they do is that I think could be reasonable for Commander because it's such a big format. Is they'll do like pick 3s or pick 2s, where they're like, okay, your deck. Like for example, let's say 3 cards that are like really good together. I guess you could say like Springheart, Natantugo, and Nadu, just as an example. Your deck can contain either or, but not both. Is like some of the stuff that they do.
Yeah.
And then they'll even do it with 3 cards. It'll be like, your deck can have Deceiver Exarch, or Pestermite, or Splinter Twin, but you can't have all 3 or whatever. And you can't have two of the 3. So like if certain cards are just too high power level together, like maybe for like level 3 format where it's like OP but not quite super OP, you can have Jewel Lotus or Mana Crypt or Mana Vault, whatever, you know, one of the 3, but you can't have all 3. And then that kind of like powers it down a bit where people have to choose which mana rock they want because it's a little more restricted. Put some thought into what commander that they're playing it for. Obviously, something like Jewel Lotus would like always get picked. So like, if you're gonna ban fast mana in a format like level 2, Jewel Lotus probably just goes because it's insane. It's a Black Lotus, obviously, but at the same time, like they can just figure it out. And I'm down for the experimenting. Like I'm a person that's like willing to see cards go and come back, bans and unbans. You know what I mean? We've been waiting for the modern unbans forever.
Yeah.
Speaking of modern,
oh my gosh,
if they
please.
don't unban Fury and Grief, I'm gonna be really mad. But anyways,
well, it just makes me feel like, man, we just want decks to stop being 30% of the meta. Look at energy now. Like,
well, what I thought was funny is like getting away from the commander thing. That's basically most of my thoughts on it. And if I left anything out, or you guys have more to discuss, or you disagree with me, let me know in the comments.
Bully him.
Bully me. I'm gonna take it. I literally don't care. I actually think some guy was like talking shit to me in one of the comments of our videos, like this guy's takes our ass or whatever, and I was like,
oh, I did see that once, and I was like,
true.
I was like, we made it We got there. We
first
did
aid or
it,
whatever.
everyone.
And that's funny because it was like a Tales from the Tap one. I was like, oh, I haven't had one of these before. And then whatever the guy said, I was like, I don't know what I said, so I agree with you. But anyways, going to Modern, man, they're going to ban the One Ring for no reason. I swear to God. Everybody's crying about it. Like, oh, the One Ring. I'm so tired of Reddit, bro. I wish they would just nuke Reddit and like Twitter. Just like get rid of them.
Oh, man. That'd be such a bummer only because they have their jukeboxes in the Reddit office.
Fair. Another problem would be like those people would migrate to other websites, and it's like, oh no, get away! Stop.
No, Yik Yak's back.
Actually, Reddit is so good. I forgot it's like a trap. But for Modern specifically, I really hope they think about unbans before they start banning. Like, there's like 5 cards I would snap unban if I could control it, which is like Fury, Ponder, Grief, Violent Outburst, and maybe like. I could see Beans come back. Like, could you think about like this format right now with like Energy versus Beans, maybe even Rhinos again, whether or not they want to cascade into Rhinos or Beans? Like Domain's kind of back, but it's kind of not.
I actually feel like Rhinos would not be egregious with Burrows Energy.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
I think that it'd be like, oh, this is tough kind of magic.
A lot of cards that could hang against the One Ring are just like gone for really no reason.
Well, I just want Living End to be a real deck again.
Yes, that's what I'm upset with. In the article where they banned Grief with Nadu, they were like, Rakdos is really performing. I was like, what Rakdos? What Rakdos deck? You took it away. You took our Rakdos deck away. What do you mean? There's only Goriel's Vengeance playing this card, and then like the Mono Black Cabal Coffers deck that doesn't exist. People were like coping, like when Grief got banned, like, oh, the deck got better. It got better without Grief. No, it didn't. It went from tier 2 to tier shit. Like, it's unplayable. And I want to play Mono Black Cabal Coffers. I want to play Necropotent even. Like, dude, it's so cool. The Necro Dominance card is so cool.
Don't let me forget to make, well, the deck's not real anymore, but Joe always wanted us to make a t-shirt that said Cabal Coffee, and for it to be like the Cabal Coffers logo, like in a cup of coffee.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
And that was cool, but now the deck is not playable, so that doesn't work anymore.
We'll fix it, and then we'll talk to Juan.
That's like the Karn t-shirt.
I'm going to be on the Modern Rules Committee.
It's Karn.
It's true. Well, anyways, if you disagree with me on my Modern takes, you're wrong. Unless you want to, let me know in the comments. We can argue about it.
Meet him outside.
Yeah. Catch me outside. How about
Meet
that?
him outside.
But no, like legitimately, I think Modern is so good right now. I would just love to see some unbans for once, ever, anything. With that being said, that's my ramble, and I took a lot of Frank's time away. So we're gonna let him get into updating you guys on Standard and Pioneer, and then I'm just gonna like see what he says and whether or not I agree or disagree.
Welcome to the Me Show. All right, so we're gonna get into format updates. The first one, the most exciting one for me, is Standard. So Standard is looking awesome.
It's the best format.
It is the best format. Don't at me, Devin.
I love you, Devin.
So
sorry. Standard's just the best format.
Yeah. So Standard. First thing, Gruul Prowess. A lot of versions of this deck are starting to run around. The list that just recently won the challenge has the new Leyline and Turn Inside Out both in it. So we both kind of predicted, hey, we think the new Leyline of Resonance is going to be in these decks. But what's crazy is that they're getting a little wild about it, and they're treating it like Modern, where they're like cut 4 lands, put in 4 ley lines, and it's like 16 lands.
Hey, I like it.
That's aggressive.
Actually,
for an
to
aggressive
your point,
deck.
I was talking about it with Will Kowalczyk at Pioneer, and we had a really low turnout. So him and I were just chatting, talking about his RC prep, and we both agreed that the new leyline is insane. But this was before it came out, and then I think it was Robert was like, "Oh, that card's bad. It's not going to be good." And then I was like, "I don't know. It seems good to me." And like, I think I talked to Jared, who was saying like some of the other guys that he talks to were saying the Leyline's a meme, and I'm like, "I don't know, man. It seems really good to me." And Kowalczyk said something I totally agreed with, where he's like, "A lot of people when they're evaluating Magic cards kind of sleep on how powerful proactive Leylines are, where like the ones that are just like Leyline of the Void, Leyline of Sanctity." Obviously, they're not like broken because they're reactionary. They are protection. The ones that are like proactively advancing your game plan, because they're a free spell, are so asinine. Shout out to Wilds of Eldraine. Like the one that's banned, Leyline of Abundance, was like purely degenerate. Like, oh yeah, you're just gonna make every card's a Keenan. your whole deck's broken, and it gives you devotion to green.
Yeah.
Good luck trying to keep up with it. And then that's kind of like what Leyline of the Guild Pack is doing now. It's like mono green ramp. You have this on turn 1, you completely win the game. It's not close. That's the only thing keeping the deck in the format, honestly. And you can do the same thing in Modern with it. It's like, oh yeah, this card makes my deck like actually a deck. And if I don't get it, tier 2 Modern deck. You know what I mean? At best. And so the red Leyline to me, it's like, dude, not only is it like free, it's like definitely proactively advancing your game plan. And one of the things red does already in Pioneer and Standard is draw a discard. So it's like, yeah, pitch the one I drew to do something else. You exile the Leyline off the top of your deck, you're never really going to complain. You know, it's like, I didn't draw it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So other than like new Leyline and Turn Inside Out, which you're seeing play in a lot of lists, some of the lists are also like running Manifold Mouse and are starting to be like really utilize Manifold Mouse.
That's the one that exiles, right?
No. So Manifold Mouse is the one that says it's
Oh.
got Offspring, and you can decide to
Yes.
like give your another mouse double strike
Yeah.
until end of turn or haste.
That one is scary.
It is scary. And
So I'm thinking of Emberheart Champion or whatever. It's
yes,
called.
it's when you target it, you exile a card, and you may play it.
Right.
Yeah.
Abbott Carol Keep kind of guy.
Yeah. So then after that, there are even a couple lists that are throwing in the chainsaw, which
Chainsaw's sweet.
it is sweet. But what's so funny to me is that we have these Bloomburrow creatures, like these mice, equipping them with chainsaws in Standard, and
Could you
I'm
imagine
like,
if it was like
I'm like,
hammers?
these are.
Colossus Hammer and a chainsaw.
Yeah, you know, like this little tiny mouse. Like I'm just like, that's amazing.
Yeah,
like,
or-
what are we doing in Magic the
Cacophony
Gathering?
Scamp, you're like,
Yeah.
bonk.
Yeah. So I just think that's really cool. The next thing that I'm super excited about is Blue White Artifacts. So Blue White Artifacts.
Nice, really?
Yes, Blue White Artifacts. It's the same deck that like.
I just hope Foundation gives them a 2-drop so bad.
It's the same list that Robert was playing, right?
Yeah.
This is the same deck. The Mockingbird, the Zoetic Glyph.
This is the aggro deck.
Yes,
I thought you were
yes,
talking
yes.
about the Simulacrum
No.
deck. Gotcha.
Um,
If it was aggro, I'm already sold on. That deck is crazy.
But the aggro list, what they did is they took like spring-loaded saw blades, which is in the deck, which was kind of bad, and replaced it with a new hover ship. So the new, like, you know, it's like Skyclave Aberration, like it's an O-ring effect,
Yes.
but on this thing that you can crew, or you put Zoetic Glyph onto it, and then you're like, cool, now I'm attacking with it as well.
Yep. Actually, it's kind of funny because I don't know what the removal spell was, but it's like turn your guy into an O2 without abilities, and it's an artifact. You know what I'm talking about? Kyle was playing it in the Frogs deck as like a removal spell. It's like a 1 mana, turn your guy into a 0/2, and he becomes an artifact or something. He's a toy. And that's like, I guess, one of the blue like removal spells or answer spells. And then,
I know the card, and I can see the picture of it in my head, but I don't remember the name.
Yeah, no worries. All I know is that the judge called me today, and then Robert's like, if I Zoetic Glyph this, it says it's a 0/2. Does it become a 5/4? And I was like, yeah, it's time stamped. And he's like, nice. Like,
Yeah, baby.
immediately make my guy powerful again.
So outside of Hover Ship, they're now playing the Shard Mage's Rescue, which is the flash enchantment
Yes.
that gives hexproof and +1/+1.
Right.
And Sheltered by Ghosts. So remember we were talking about Sheltered by Ghosts? It's the 1 and a white. You give, I don't remember.
Is it
if
the one
it's-
where you enchant your guy and he O-rings, but then he has ward and plus a lifelink?
Yes.
I had that in my crazy limited deck I was talking about.
Yep.
That card
And
is
we were
nuts.
and we were talking about that card and how awesome that card was, like for limited, and
Yeah.
it's just awesome to me that it's seeing standard play.
Yeah. Card is good. I mean, it's good.
Yeah.
I could actually see that getting played like in a Boggles deck. You know what I mean?
Well, speaking of like Boggles type decks, they basically so there's
Pre-watched?
new list called Boros Prowess, and
Okay.
I'm not kidding.
For standard?
Standard, still
Got it.
standard. Boros Prowess, and
Prowess, not Valiant. Got it.
So they basically took Red White Heroic
Sure.
and Boggles, and then went.
Yeah.
So it's a deck that's playing one, as we called it, Ethereal Armor
Oh yeah,
is so good.
Well, if
so
you're gonna play auras, you might as well. Like,
right,
Ethereal Armor is so nasty.
it's the Shard Mage's Rescue, Sheltered by Ghosts, Ethereal Armor, and it's basically the Slick Shot list, and like a Slick Shot, the Mouse, Monastery Swift Spear, but then you're playing all those enchantments. So those enchantments give the same +2/0. You play Demonic Ruckus in the list because it's
nice.
also an enchantment, and then the Monstrous Rage token is
an enchantment. Yeah.
So it's like, this is all coming together now.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah, that's really cool.
And I saw the list and I was like, this,
Do they still play protection spells?
the Shard Mage's Rescue.
Right. Okay. So just the one card.
Yeah.
I was wondering if they like make it like a weird Naya deck or something because like Snakes and Veils all over the place.
Yeah.
What I like about that being like kind of like almost required, like before it's like Gruul, was that the new removal spell, Nowhere to Hide or something, somewhere like that. I can't remember the card where it's like you can kill them through their ward and through their hexproof.
Oh,
The Flash enchantment.
yes, the new black one.
Yeah, really like that card a lot. I'm super high on it. I think it's a sweet design. And I'd like to see more Boggle support now that that kind of card exists. Because one, it's first of all, it's a terrific removal spell. But it seems to me like a really good design. It even adds like Black Devotion. I was talking to Julian where like he's like, after the RC, him and I kind of like want to brew a Black Devotion deck and see if we can make it work. And that removal spell is one of the cards that kind of works for the archetype.
Yeah. Beyond Boros Prowess, Azorius Tempo, Move Over, Monastery Mentor. You were out of the deck, my brother. New sheriff in town, and he is a giant eyeball.
He is expensive, by the way.
Abhorrent Oculus is...
As of today, he's like 70 for a foil or something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, the card, it's like, they're like $30 or $40 a piece
Yeah.
for like regulars. And I just pulled one in that first box, and it's playing in the list I might be playing for the RC.
Yeah.
So what's awesome about Abhorrent Oculus is it's another flying threat, which just pairs nicely with like another thing in the air with Haughty Djinn. But it also, because of the Manifest Dread, you just fuel your graveyard more for the Haughty Djinn effects, the like Tolarian Terrors, like just getting more instants and sorceries in your graveyards. Oh, maybe you want to put a creature in the yard for you to recommission it. Like, it's just so
That card is
good.
really nasty. I really love that it's just like a straight up 3-drop. Like, here's a good card on rate. Like, could you imagine this card like before Modern Horizons or like in 2017 Magic? Like, even like Splinter Twin, like 2014 or 15 Magic, you'd be like hard pressed not to want to play this card.
Yeah.
I mean, the card is really cool.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. It is such a cool design.
Very cool.
3 mana, 5/5 flyer.
Manifest Dread at the beginning of your opponent's upkeep.
That is so cool.
It's so cool.
You're just getting bodies,
and it makes
though.
bodies. And
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
makes bodies.
I heard they were playing it in Modern. I haven't seen the lists, but people were replacing Murktides with it to try it out, or playing it with Murktide.
Oh my gosh,
what?
please.
Like,
Let
that's
it be
like,
in Dimir Frog for me.
It's kind of like, reminds me of like Ledger Shredder when Ledger Shredder came out, and everybody was like, yeah, it seems good, but like, and then it just came out, and everybody was like,
Yeah, I remember selling one, being like, this card's not anything, and then like rebuying them back for way more than they were worth, or way more after people were like, this card's crazy, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is like people being like, don't say nothing, don't say nothing, don't say nothing, get your copies, or like it just actually takes people longer to figure some stuff out than others. Maybe like that kind of card doesn't seem good until you're playing with it, you know?
Yeah. Plus, on top of it, as we mentioned, Manifest Dread is card selection.
Yeah, no, it is.
It's just card selection.
Makes bodies, is card selection. Like those 2/2s will get there.
Yep.
Like it's kind of cracked.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think that's going to really, what I've seen based, and we'll get to this later, but what I've seen off of like this list, there's like a Teamer tempo list that I'm going to talk about in a
list
second.
and I thought it was awesome.
It makes me almost feel like, right, because of Leyline Resonance and because of like all this value and making aggro actually good and viable, it makes me feel like, from what I've seen over a list for the past few days, that it's like either aggro or deck that goes really big and you just can't outvalue. And I was like, does that mean mid-range is dead? Is mid-range dead in this current format. I mean, right, we're only a week in, so there could be lists that adjust and whatnot, but it really made me like, after watching all of the 5.0s and being like, oh, it's either an aggro list or something that goes really big.
Well, I think partially aggro is always favored in a new format, and this was a very aggro-centered set. Duskborn for sure mainly focused on giving us aggro. But if we're being honest, all the previous sets, like the last 2 or 3, were really mid-range focused. So like I would say that if anything, it was just like full circle, because like what did we say like 2 episodes ago? We're like, damn, this is like a mid-range format. Like standard, sure, try it. Control, not that good, but playable. Mid-range. Like every deck was like Golgari, Orzhov, Mono Black, Boros, Domain. Like every deck was mid-range, and it's like, okay, cool. And so like those decks I think will still hang, but it's like people want to try the new toys, and also like aggro's always favored in like new formats. What I find kind of interesting, well, I guess I'll talk about it when you get to Pioneer, but this new deck you were about to bring up, Teamer Tempo or whatever, I was looking at the list because you put the link in our show notes, and you were like, what is this? And I read it, and I was like, oh my God, this is such a Gabe deck. Like something like,
it is absolutely a Gabe deck.
Yeah, this is such a Gabe and I are in a call, and we're cooking, and we're just like, let's try this and this and that. Well, why don't we just add a third color, you know? And like, it's so funny because it's like I've been playing against this deck, but the Simic version, not the Teamer version.
Okay.
I mean, and to be fair, it really is just a Simic deck. The sideboard is red. But I was playing against this deck already like a couple weeks ago when I was actually still a Magic player. I was in a call with Gabe specifically, and I'm like, oh, this guy's playing some weird mono blue deck, and then he just like blows me out because he's all of a sudden playing up the Beanstalk, and Tolarian Terror is a really cool card. Tolarian Terror triggers the Beanstalk, and then they have that Eddie Tail guy or whatever his name is, Eddie
Murkcrab.
Eddie Murkcrab, is that what his name is?
Yep.
Eddie Murkcrab is kind of nutty because he like taps guys and stuns them when he comes in, and he's also like a cheap guy, like blue, but he has flash. So like he's like the dig through time to the Tolarian Terror being like the treasure cruise. And it's really cool because now the deck's kind of come full circle. It's like, oh yeah, up the Beanstalk, draw power, a bunch of spells, play my 5/5 with Ward, flash in my other 5/5, tap your blockers, kill you. And my sideboard has Pyroclasm.
Yeah, so the deck,
like Pyroclasm, like Lithomantic Barrage, like the red cards.
And it's also playing Storm Chaser's talent. So
true.
So you get to level 6, and you're like, cool, now every time I cast a spell, I'm just making otters with prowess.
Yes.
Like, it's got the late game of doing that if, like, you just run out of stuff.
Yeah. Well, you can't run out of stuff like they used to, which is what's nice. They used to just be like, oh, you ended one of my guys and you killed 2 of the other ones in Sunfold. Well, I lose.
I just love that it's got 1 mountain and the Pyroclasms in the sideboard.
Yeah.
Like, you have to bring the mountain in to bring in the Pyroclasms because the deck is Simic otherwise.
Yes.
That is so funny. But yeah, it's Eddie Murkcrab's Tolarian Terrors. It's running
Lithomantic Barrage, I'm assuming, is like for like the mirror match too, which is so funny.
Yeah.
It's like uncounterable 5 damage, so like only kills like the creatures in their own decks. I guess it's like a 1 damage for like random cards like bats and whatnot too, so that's kind of nice.
Well, I just love that this town ain't big enough that it's like 2 mana. I'm just gonna bounce back my Eddie Murkcrab, recast my Eddie Murkcrab, tap down your stuff some more, like
stun all your guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna bounce this thing, tap your other 2 things, replay this 5/7.
Yeah, it's so gross because he has flash. It's like you're like doing it next turn. You're like, oh, I have 4 mana open. You tapped out. Okay, cool. Bounce my guy. In response to your removal spell, tap your guys down. Oh, okay, dude. Yeah, sweet deck. Honestly, really cool. But that's like a tempo slash, and like obviously tempo to me falls in like the mid range category. But like it is like, I guess, kind of like a triangle with like a star around it. If you really want to add tempo combo and whatever.
It's breaking my brain. Yeah, and then the last thing, because we kind of really got into Team or Tempo just a little early, was Domain. Domain, still strong and still solid, but Heap Harvest, I hardly knew ye, because now the Green Overlord.
Overlord of the
Hauntwoods.
Okay, I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah.
I was not going to say
Overlord of the Hauntwoods.
I think I know Bushwhack or Bushwar. See, I tried.
I don't even know what you're saying.
Overlord of the Brash something.
What color?
Black.
Oh, I just pulled one. Not the one that I need. I don't know. what the black one
I don't
is.
know, but the green ones, they're all freaking sweet. They're all really cool.
Yes.
I
mean,
think the impeding
even
mechanic for me is so awesome.
even the black one is seeing like playing grease fang lists.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, then it's just eventually a body.
Yeah, no, they're all really honestly such good designs. It is like, I don't know. I think they nailed it with these guys. I think I like everything about them. I love that they're like
Overlord
Cast-
of the Balmerk.
Baelmerk. That's
Baelmerk.
Baelmerk, not Bushmerk. Man, what am I thinking, bro? I'm dumb. But
Yeah,
everyone
go
is
home.
like cast creature now, get effect. Okay, now I'm a nothing. But the effects you're getting are actually highly reasonable for the mana values, considering you're keeping a card in play. And as we're going to talk about soon, what you're probably thinking about for the RC, since by the time people see this, you're going to already be there, is Enigmatic Fires.
Yep.
And Enigmatic Incarnation, for those who don't know, is like sack enchantment. What's the effect?
You sack an enchantment and you tutor for a creature that's 1 mana value more than the enchantment that you
Birthing Pod.
sacked.
It's like enchantment birthing pod. It's so nasty. But you're searching for creatures when you sack enchantments. Sacking these guys, they're both.
Yeah,
They're
so
both.
so you can sack the green one to go get the red one.
Yes.
And you can sack the red one to go get either Titan of Industry or Atraxa.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane.
It's really good.
And they're
And
both good on ETB. Very
so
good.
good. And well, we'll get into that with Pioneer. But actually, that's a good transition. Let's just get into Pioneer.
Sure. Jump right in.
So, the first thing, right, Enigmatic Fires got really big upgrades. It's actually no longer Fires. It's just Enigmatic Incarnation or 4-color Enigmatic,
gonna ask.
5-color Enigmatic. Fires of Invention is gone.
Yeah.
Which actually,
That makes a lot of sense.
I
I'm
really
down.
don't mind it because it felt so awkward when you like would have Leyline Bindings in hand and you're like, cool, I can't cast them. And you
100%.
have to like figure out when you're going to sack your Fires to like then play the Leyline Bindings. And now it's just like, cool, I'm playing Enigmatic Incarnation. I'm playing really big dudes that can then sack into my bigger dudes. And it's really easy that way.
I'm happy about that. I was going to ask if they still play the Fires because I was curious if they were going to think about cutting them. I was going to ask you. I was like, hey, we should cut them.
Yeah, they're cut. They're gone.
I kind of like, I find it funny because I'm pretty sure Fires of Invention got like banned in Standard, if I'm not mistaken. And it's like, that card used to be freaking crazy. And now it's like, nah, like,
I will
we need Pioneer too.
I will tell you, it wasn't like super cracked, but it did kind of feel like you were feeling like a bad god.
Well, Throne of
when
Eldraine was insane power level. For that Standard, Fires of Invention was a crazy card. One of the crazy cards.
yeah, but you really were feeling like you were absolutely cooking when you were like, I've got 5 mana. I'm gonna buy Kyruga. I will immediately play Kyruga with Fires and like draw a bunch of cards. Like
Right.
that felt awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't miss the deck otherwise.
Do
And
you still play the Companion?
Yorion.
Oh, it's a Yorion deck now? That's so much better. I hated Karuga.
It's Yorion because Yorion immediately puts them back into play
Yeah,
without
as
their
creatures.
time counters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you're
And
just
you get other triggers again.
and you get the triggers again. So
And for those that don't know, Overlord of the Red is like,
bilge something.
it's like the Bilgefire or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is the Flage of Pioneer. That card
It is, and that's what I was going
he's
to
not
talk
going
about.
anywhere.
Yeah,
That card is strong.
yeah. Overlord of the Boiler Bilges.
Boiler Bilges, yeah.
Yeah, so this card's $3. If I had to hedge anything, I'd say get some because
I would buy a playset for $12. I think a playset is super reasonable because these are mythics, aren't they?
yes, they're
Yeah, the
mythics.
Overlords are all mythics. Honestly, if they're under $5-10, playset of each one, I think they're all going to be great in Standard for the 3 years. All 3 years, great.
Yeah.
For sure, there's game in Pioneer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And worst case, they are enchantment creatures. They're phenomenal in Commander.
Right.
Especially
It's-
level 3 Commander or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, it really does. So I was playing blue-white, and I was playing against an enigmatic player, and it was like we were both in top deck mode. We've had counter magic, and they were like, "Cool, play one of those red ones, dome me for 4." And I was like, "Okay, well, it's a 5/5, but that's not a big deal." But then on attack, it's like, "Cool, dome you for 4 again, Yorion, flicker it, dome you for 4 again," and I'm like,
try to block challenge.
and I was at like 28. I was at like 28 life, and I was like, "Oh, I'm dead in 3 turns."
Yeah.
Like, what? So it does absolutely feel like it's the Flage a Pioneer. It's a 5/5 that with Impending 4 does 4 on ETB and does 4 on attack.
Do you guys still play the Heliod in the deck?
Some lists are playing Heliod, some lists are not. I'm up and down on it because buying back a Leyline Binding is big money, but the list that I was playing that took second at this big RC or at this big tournament was not on it. And so that's part of what I'm trying to at least figure out in my testing this week is that do you play the white one? Because some lists are playing the white one, and I think that might be decent into Grease Fang.
The flying blockers are sweet.
Especially for Grease Fang. It just buys you another turn.
Yep. I didn't realize there were flyers when I first played the card at draft. I was like, or sealed, I guess. I was like, I get 2 1s. And then somebody was like, they fly, right? And I was like, they fly? Like, what?
Fly. Well, and then when you...
It is 4 mana, but damn.
Well, I even saw one list, I think it might have been Standard, that was then playing Zur, and Zur like shot up in price because Zur just
Robert was playing the deck here.
Turns them on.
Yes.
I was like, no, but I think this was like a 5-color list.
Yeah.
He was
Robert
playing
was playing the 3-color, but he's like,
3.
there's a 5-color version. I just wanted to do Esper.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
my
gosh,
God.
it's so cool.
Yeah, Zur.
But that's for Standard.
Awesome. I'm glad he finally gets play.
Yeah. Other than that, things I've been seeing that aren't necessarily a part of Duskmourn, but, well, one deck for Duskmourn, Grease Fang. So Grease Fang has just popped back up in Resurgence. It was like gone entirely. And people are super cooking with the list. I've seen people play Say My Name in the list with the Alternock. I've seen people playing the Black Overlord.
Yes.
And then doing the mill that way too. And then eventually, I'm going to have this big dude if you like can deal with all the rest of what I'm doing.
Yeah. A lot of options for Grease Fang now with the new set.
Yeah.
I hope that Julian switches to it. I think he was saying he was not liking Lotus Field at all into the format. And obviously, if he plays Lotus Field, I think he'll be fine because Julian's a phenomenal player. But
he's very practiced on Lotus Field.
He's very practiced, but like if he were to pivot to Grease Fang right now, I would not complain. Same reason why I'm not upset that that you are not complaining that you are pivoting to Enigmatic Incarnation because we kind of agree that blue-white feels okay, but not like the best, you know? And I find it actually awkward that one of the reasons why blue-white is actually playable right now is that it, for some reason, has a good matchup into Rakdos, which to me, it feels like it shouldn't. I'm like, why does the control deck have a good matchup against the aggro deck that's like super turbo aggro? But I guess, you know, 1-mana exile effects are... 1-mana exile effects?
Yeah.
It's just a weird list, you know?
They're good. My problem with blue-white, and this is like my general feeling as to why I've been on the fence, is that with the new Overlords and with some of the cards that we've seen just from Duskmourn, it feels like board wipes aren't good enough anymore because your opponent's cards are not 1-for-1s.
Right.
It feels like, this Overlord is giving them mill value and then is eventually going to punch me. Or like in Enigmatic, it's like, cool, they're ramping with this land, but they have something that will be on the board eventually. So even if they build another board and then I wipe it, this thing is going to hit me eventually.
Right.
And so that's been my concern about blue-white is that sometimes... And I even found this against like Rakdos Transmogrify, where like I've had games where they're drawing more cards than me, and I'm the control deck, and I'm like, what do I do into that, you know? So
I agree. I really actually like that point a lot because that's partially why I'm kind of hyped for Day of Judgment, where like it felt like 4-mana field nuke for a while might be too good. But like when you saw like everybody playing the one from New Capenna, and like there's still a 4-mana field nuke in the format, but like just straight up pure 4-mana field nuke for Standard used to be like, this is kind of annoying, man. Like when Supreme Verdict was in Standard, you know, Control was like one of the best decks, and that's because creatures would just die, you know. And now it's like every creature has an ETB or a spell equipped or a graveyard ability or whatever, and I'm like, I really love that. I like that a lot. I like that creatures are good now. It's kind of funny comparing them to the creatures of old, but like the new creatures really make formats like Standard that much more fun to me, where part of why I like the format so much is the interaction and like I always used to. I used to think this too, and people will say like, "Oh, if you play older formats, you're playing a higher skill level," and that's kind of true to some extent, but only for like experience. I want to say, like if you play modern and a player makes a mistake, yes, the better player's gonna win. But like, I think that standard still has like a really high skill cap that is on like an equal level now, where it's like the better player more likely is gonna win. Even if there is slightly more variance because there's more turns in the format, there's just so many more things that your cards do, so many more interactions and different abilities and different paths of the deck to branch out on, not just from deck building, but from the way you mulligan and the way you can play. I think standard is a real true test of your skill, and I love to see where the format is now, even if it is a little bit more complex than some might want.
Well, and that's why I think it's such a good format, is because it doesn't feel like I'm playing low power Magic.
Right.
Even
Nobody
though
wants
like
that.
legacy players are like, well,
Actually, I forgot who I was talking to. Oh, no, I think I was talking to Gabe actually, but I was literally like laughing because I was like, standard right now, like Abernaculus. I was like, dude, that's such a modern 2015 card, 2016 modern card that would be like insane, like almost like a Huntmaster of the Fells, or that's a 4-drop obviously, but like Olivia Valdarin used to get played back in the day, and you would be like, man, what a value endgame creature from the Jund deck. Oh, they got me off guard, and that's like barely comparable to like Ikra, you know what I mean? Where I'm like, man, Pioneer and honestly Standard more really feel like the power level that Modern used to be. And then those same players that want to play Modern and Legacy so bad are like, Standard sucks, man. Like, format's ass. I don't want to play that. That's the format that's how they get you, man. That's how they get you buying packs. And I miss the old days. I'm like, dude, the old days are right here. It's like, just play Standard. It's so freaking good.
It's so good. And
I don't know what you want because it's amazing.
I don't know what you want either. For the rest of like what's in the meta, we haven't seen cards change, but I think it's just like with what decks are causing these to come back. Angels has increased in meta share. I think it's gone up to like 6%. Angels.
Oh, Pioneer.
Yeah, Pioneer. Green White Angels. Grease Fang is back.
Angels is back. Oh, I love that people are playing Coco again. Coco is so underplayed.
I played against a Coco deck today. I'm not kidding. It was so annoying. It was green, white, Coco taxes.
Yeah.
Like all the cards
I saw that against Julian when he was testing Lotus Field on Discord.
Green, white taxes.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not fun. I still won, but it was a slog.
So cool.
Transmogrify is back.
Yeah, when you mentioned Rakdos, I was like, wait, what? Transmog? So they're hitting Atrexa again?
Some lists are playing Atrexa, and
Don't tell me they're playing the 9-drop Lord.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yep, some lists are playing the 9-drop Lord.
Honestly, so cool.
Yeah, and some lists are playing both. Some lists are playing multiple hits,
yeah,
and so
you don't want to get Slaughter Games or whatever. What's the one that they play in Modern? Unmordigo? I guess they could play that in Pioneer. Unmordigo is kind of nasty, You don't want to lose your Atrexas.
Yep. That's like it for meta share. This past weekend, big tournament. I didn't look at like all the top 10 decks. I do know that Blue White won.
Oh, I printed out the stuff for you. My bad.
Oh yeah, I
didn't grab it. Oh well,
that's okay.
Julian did like a pretty cool metagame recap of like all the testing he did for Pioneer the last month, and he posted it in Discord for anybody that wants to see that. Feel free to join for free. It's just in the Pioneer channel.
Yep.
And he did a great job. Cool synopsis, and then he posted a bunch of links like the Brazilian RC, a bunch of other resources, different data, metagame share percentages. Really cool stuff to read if you are into it.
Yeah, the last thing I forgot to say about Enigmatic, just to go back for a second, is that the Overlord of the Hauntwoods, when his ETB hits, the token, everything, has all land types. So you get domain just by having that token.
And actually, it has everything land types.
Whatever. Point being is that you get domain off of the token.
Yeah, the domain is killer.
And so that's why like it's being played in standard, and like it's even better than Topiary Stomper is by far, because you're no longer getting a land. You're getting a land that is all land types. And so like, now I have Leyline Binding mana now off this one.
And it's an actual threat. Like, Topiary Stomper was a cool threat, but like what Heaps Harvest wasn't giving the domain players was an actual threat. And this card is insane.
Yeah.
And like you said, the domain is super relevant.
That's why that card is like $30 a piece now.
Yeah, and to your point about Enigmatic, when you guys were playing Fires of Invention, I remember playing your deck in St. Louis because I wanted to play some side events because you were playing the Sunday event. And I was like, yeah, I'll go play some side events with your Pioneer deck or whatever. And I literally like played against Spirits twice, and it was like your worst matchup at the time.
Oh, so
And
rough.
I was like, man, these Leyline Bindings are so ass. Like they don't freaking do anything. And now they're good again, and they're even better than before, which I think is actually something that's very important for your deck to be able to, like, on their turn, Leyline Binding, set yourselves up for even more. And honestly, a card that would have messed Spirits up back in the day is the new Red Impending. Like, just 4 damage to any of their creatures, like, you're just cooking. Like,
Well, and I think that another reason why I didn't like blue-white into it, especially with these lords, is like you're playing somewhere between 1 and 3 copies of Dovin's Veto, and Dovin's Veto doesn't hit them because they're considered creatures. So it's like it feels like the Grist effect, where like you're facing a Grist and you're like, this isn't counterable. Like, it's just awful. So yeah, other than meta share, and the last thing I'm going to say about Pioneer is that a lot of people are cooking. A lot of cooking.
Yeah.
So there was a challenge that was just won with mono black mid range, and mono black mid range. This new list is got a turn 4 kill. It's the new slasher with the Bloodletter of Aclazot. So it's still playing the discard effects of like duress, like 1 or 2 duress and
what was that,
4 Thoughtseize.
Thunder Junction card that would like make them lose half their life. It's like a way better version of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that I was actually chasing Daniel a couple wins at Pioneer, where it's like play Bloodletter, cast this card, make you lose half your life. And this is like how to do it on turn 4.
Right, it's like
triple Black Devotion if you want to go that route.
Well, and the deck is like Unstoppable Slasher. So the Unstoppable Slasher, what makes that card really crazy is
Death Touch.
Well, not just Death Touch, is that if it dies, if it doesn't have counters on it, it comes back stunned.
That card is
so
crazy.
it doesn't die.
Yeah.
It's like, why? It makes me think of Austin Powers, like, you know, when they're falling out of the building, and he's like, why won't you die? After, like, been shot, like, a million times and, you know, still going. The other card that's crazy in that deck is Unholy Annex / the new Retreat.
Oh, really? No wonder. I was like, I saw Unholy Annex, like, went up in price, and I was like, what happened there?
Yeah, so Unholy Annex, it's one of the rooms. It says at the beginning of your end step, draw a card. If you control a demon, each player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Otherwise, you lose 2 life. And then you can unlock it for 5 and make a 6/6 demon. Well, Bloodletter of Aclazot is also a demon. Fun fact. So...
Wait, what does the room play on turn 3?
3.
So you can play that or the Blood Slasher guy.
Yeah, well, it's... If you have Bloodletter of Aclazot's out, it's I gain 2, you lose 4.
Yeah.
And I draw a card.
Oh, and you draw a card. Oh
yeah,
my god.
Yeah. So I was like,
I wonder if they play. Do they play the Demonic Tutor?
No, they are not playing the Demonic Tutor.
Oh, man, I really.
They're playing March of Wretched Sorrow in Pioneer. 4 Duress, 4 Thoughtseize, 4 Edict.
I think Wretched Sorrow actually makes a lot of sense for them in this format because of the aggro decks.
Yeah.
But I wish the Demonic Council spell would get played. It's so cool. Literally Demonic Tutor is so cool. I think that card is sweet. Obviously, this deck doesn't have Delirium, but finding your Bloodletter or your whatever seems fine. The reason why we wanted to do Black Devotion was to power out the 9-drop guy and try that kind of on a black deck out with Julian. But yeah, a lot of cooking. I think that honestly, the reason why Standard looks so what it is right now is that because everybody's kind of focused on Pioneer and Modern. You're either focusing on calling for your Modern RC invite, or
which I haven't been able to do. Jarrett asked me about it. He's like, have you called? And I was like, no. I've only played, I usually play a lot of RCQs, but I've only done
like 2.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I was like, wait, 2? Oh,
I think it was 3 maybe.
I have almost as many RCs as you, or RCQs as you.
You've played RCQs this season?
Yeah, 0. Almost.
Oh.
Almost as many. But no, for real. It's
trolling me.
Everybody's focused on Modern or Pioneer, and Standard just got new toys. And honestly, for me, one of the big reasons why I'm not super focused on because I'm usually brewing in Standard, I want to brew deck ideas. I'm personally waiting for Foundations. I'm super excited for it. they've only spoiled like 6 cards or 7 cards, I want to say. I really want spoilers to start for that already, just so I can start cooking. And like I said, I casted the whitest net the other day, and I'm just like, these are my predictions for what's going to be in it. I just want to see what's going to be in it so bad. Pioneer, Standard, going to get rocked. And I think they're trying to cook with it. I saw the products that I have to pre-order for foundations, and some of the products I'm like, not this again. They're like, starter bundle, sucky fucky 4-player starter. I'm like, no, man.
We're gonna need demonetized for this episode.
Yeah, man. Like, whatever, dude. Yeah, demonetized. I have to get monetized first.
So there's one of the other lists that's been cooking that I wanted to mention was this Reanimator extra turns list. This is a Gabe list.
Extra turns?
Yeah, it won a challenge.
For Standard?
No, Pioneer. So...
Reanimator extra turns.
Yep.
What are the extra turns in with?
Fear of missing out.
Oh, FOMO.
Yeah,
So cool.
They're using FOMO to...
Tell them what it does.
Yeah, so fear of missing out. 1 in a red enchantment creature nightmare. When fear of missing out enters, discard a card, then draw a card. Delirium. Whenever fear of missing out attacks for the first time each turn, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, untap target creature. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase.
Yeah.
So they're playing this
So
list
cool.
with 3 Valgovath's Faithful, 2 Blood Tithe Harvester. Valgovath's Faithful is the 1-drop that you can pay 4 and reanimate.
Yeah.
4 Fear of Missing Out, 2 Atraxa, 2 Titan of Industry, 4 Valgovath, 4 Push, 4 Thoughtseize, 2 Bitter Triumph, 4 Rite of the Moth, and Fable of the Mirrorbreaker.
Oh, so they're just straight trying to discard it and just go into it.
Yeah. So the Blood Tithe Harvester is also as a way to like
Right.
discard your big dudes.
Right.
Fear of Missing Out is a way to discard your big dudes. Bitter Triumph's a way to discard your big dudes, and then you just are like, cool, Rite of Moth, Valgovath, Rite of Moth, Atraxa, Rite of Moth, Titan of Industry. Like just they're all the big dudes with Reanimator. It's like the Rakdos Shell, Reanimator.
Yeah.
And this I played against this. This I lost on Enigmatic because like they had one turn where they kept out a Fear of Missing Out, and I like passed, and they were like, "Cool, reanimate." I've gotten Atraxa. I didn't immediately have a removal. The next turn, they're like, "All right." I forgot what they did. I think they cracked a blood token so that they could give themselves delirium. And then we're like, cool, I've got 2 combats now, you're dead.
Yeah.
And I was at like 15 or 16 or something. I was
That's
like,
cool.
oh, I'm not going to have 2. I can live through one of these combats. You cannot.
Reminds me of when people were playing Combat Celebrant unironically. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Extra combat, go.
Yeah, extra combat.
So you meant extra combat and extra turns.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry,
Gotcha.
extra combat.
That's cool, though. FOMO is sweet. I like the card a lot.
Yeah, and then the only other thing is Spirits is coming back a little bit, and they're using the new toys of the new Endurings, the blue Enduring and the white Enduring, because the white Enduring gives them draw, and the blue Enduring gives them draw. So it's just like they're just fueling more draw, more Spirits. They're flash creatures. Well, the blue one is, the white one is not.
Is that all your recap then? So just the last thing is on Spirits?
That was it.
I have one little tidbit to add just because I was talking about it with somebody. A lot of times when people come into the shop, I'm usually like always willing to answer questions. And one thing I love about Magic a lot is like lore, but also like Magic history. Like I'm kind of like a history nerd. So like I'll be like watching History Channel shit unironically. I think I was watching like a video about the Ark of the Covenant like literally today. And so like history stuff and lore stuff I'm really into when it's good. And I was describing to I forgot who, but the cases are behind us for my shop, and like all like the little symbols, you can see what sets are in what drawer. And a lot of times when I'm pulling orders, somebody goes like, oh, blah, 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 when was Modern? I'm like, this set to here. And they're like, okay, cool. It like kind of helps you visualize it. And I was like, man, RTR is like such a cool set. I think I was explaining how blocks kind of used to work and how they sucked, and like third sets were like ass, but like even the good blocks would still have shitty third sets like Dragon's Maze and Journey into Nyx.
Oh, Dragon's Maze was awful.
And, yeah, Dragon's Maze is one of the worst sets of all time, right?
Playing Standard during that.
And I was like, but still, like this standard gave us so many cool cards that we still play today. And it's like the sad thing about Pioneer is that like if you look at Innistrad, a lot of what was modern during that time was in the Innistrad block, and it's like such a cool foundational set, and Innistrad is very popular because of that original set being so good, like that whole block. Even like Abyss and Restored as the third set was like pretty reasonable, and it didn't make the Pioneer cutoff. So it's like a lot of those cards got shafted. Like we didn't get Liliana the Veil until Dominaria United because they wouldn't give us Innistrad. And if you think about it, we didn't get a lot of really kind of high impact cards. Like I think that whole land cycle, well maybe not the whole land cycle, but Nephalia Drownyard might have been kind of impactful for like Pioneer Esper control decks back in the day. And Snapcaster Mage definitely would have been impactful in the format. It might even still be an impactful card for Pioneer. Well, I guess we'll never know. But I was just thinking about it with Foundations. I was like, wait, Foundations could have a lot of cool, just didn't make the cut. Because like the block before Innistrad was like New Phyrexia block, I think, or maybe Scars of Mirrodin, New Phyrexia, Mirrodin Besieged, I want to say. I can't remember. That's right around when I was getting started, so I don't remember too much of the lore before that. But Innistrad block specifically, like Drogskull's Captain for freaking spirits, Snapcaster Mage just for blue decks in general. Obviously, we already have Liliana. Just like a lot of cool stuff going on back then. I think there was also like the Miracle cards in that block. So like, I don't know. I feel like Foundations could be like their way of sneaking in some like Pioneer cards that never made the cut for like time wise without doing a Pioneer Horizons that would completely ruin the format. You know what I mean?
That would be awesome because, well, it would be awesome not only for like bringing some cards into the format, but it would also be like, from my perspective, nostalgic because Innistrad Return to Ravnica block was when I started.
Yeah.
Like that's when I started playing Standard anyway.
Yeah.
Was during that block. So
I think I started like the one before, but yeah, right around then is when I started going to FNM consistently. And then I remember when Return to Ravnica came out. That was awesome. It was such a big deal, and like we'd get like 50 freaking people like to 60 in like have a 5-6 round FNM.
Yeah,
it was crazy. There weren't as many game stores back then, but it was crazy. So like I don't know, it'd be nice to see some of that stuff going on. In addition to, I think we talked about it, but like the Pioneer ban list doesn't really have anything that realistically needs to come back. But eventually we might want to like readdress that, kind of the same with Modern. I might even do a video. Let me know in the comments if you guys want us to do it. But I did like a session on Discord with Josh, who's like one of my best friends, and he's always like, "What do you think about this card and this card? What should they unban?" And we like literally went through the whole list with Jared and Sal and whoever else was in the call. And they were like, "You should just record this and made it a video." And I was like, "Yeah, maybe we could do a video about like cards we think should come off the ban list for each format and why." And
you should do it. You'll get me subscribers.
Well, if you guys want that, let me know. I'm down to do some more ramble videos. I was going to do the Commander Talk as a one shot and just post it on the channel as a separate video. But if you guys want to see more of that kind of stuff, like opinion pieces from me on like different Magic the Gathering topics, let us know and we can get it done for you guys. But with that being said, anything more to add?
No, we're going to wrap it up. So
we can finally go to bed.
Yeah, we do. We got to go after Stan cuts me a deal on some more boxes because I need these cards. All right. So
we forgot last time. Shout outs to Todd. Thank you so much for all the editing and work you put in, bro. I think we forgot last time. I swear to God.
Well, I hope not because Todd, you're a real homie. We appreciate you so much. The second shout out after Todd I actually want to be is shout out to Jared. This will be your first episode overseas, and we are going to miss you.
Oh, yeah, true.
Wish you the best. He's one of our biggest fans of the podcast and a great teammate and friend. And though sometimes he can drive me a little kooky.
Frank's his favorite
podcaster, streamer,
teammate. And podcaster.
There's a lot of favorites I have from
Josh
Jared.
Is his favorite frog player.
But how dare he?
He's so cool.
That should be me.
Jared, honestly, I'll say this: since he's leaving and we won't see him for a while, and it's honestly possible we won't see him for years because he's going to grad school, and after that he has to do his internship, and then after that it's wherever he finds work, and that could be anywhere. So
baby, come back.
I will say Jared, I think, is a really good glue for communities. I think anywhere he goes, he'll find a friend group and easily make everybody in the group friends. Like everybody's going to talk to everybody, no problem, because of somebody like Jared. And that's something that I kind of have like a gift with as well, which is why I'm game store owner, easily able to connect with people. The Rizzler, as the kids say.
The Riz.
Just like able to connect with people and like anybody that comes to the store, I'm going to be able to connect with as long as they're not a complete asshole, because I'm going to just ask them to leave. And making people connect with other people to like form the connections, and like that's something I've always been good at. And I noticed that Jared is especially good at that as well, and just like goes anywhere and just is willing to talk to anybody. And him and I have a shared love of gossip, so it is what it is. But it's just fun, you know. Like it's a good time, and I think Jared's just like a good person. So like, we're gonna miss him for sure. Obviously, he's gonna be in Discord, so he'll still hang out with us.
Yeah,
but
he'll
just wanted to give him a shout out for sure. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And classic me today. I was building a deck, and I was building it too late. I probably started at like 5:45 to like come to standard today, and so I ran in here like the same sleeving my deck while I'm driving type of panic. And
You what?
Yeah. And he was like, don't tell me that. But as he was like, so I was just really flustered as I got here playing my games, all that. And I like said goodbye to him as he was walking out, and I looked up and I was like, oh, that's sad. And I didn't expect to like feel that as he was going out the door. I was like, oh, man.
When he was trying to walk out, I was like, hey, don't walk away from me. Shake my fucking hand.
Yeah. And so shout out to you, man. You're great.
Sorry, I didn't have a silver Sharpie.
Please come back.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, work where you need. Work where you need to, but if you can, be here.
Otherwise, shout outs to Sal, MTG Chicago, letting us borrow the cameras that we use for the podcast.
The hottest thumbnails.
Hottest thumbnails.
Oh, man, he's cooking.
And he gets all the, he's the reason we can get all the gameplay to you guys on YouTube for Boar's Hat channel, his channel, MTG Chicago. And the fact that we even have video for the podcast is thanks to him and Todd. So appreciate you guys. Check out his channel. Give him a sub if you haven't. Shout out to Nancy Steroids, intro and outro music, super dope stuff. He's always popping out new content, and he's no longer Frank's coworker, so we're gonna miss him as well. And Frank actually was streaming the other day. He's been streaming more now that he has his house. He's finally moved out of his aunt's house,
and so I have real internet again. I'm a real boy.
And the music that he listens to on stream is Nancy Steroids. So check him out if you haven't. Give him a follow on Spotify or whatever, or SoundCloud, whatever. Gives him his little metrics.
That's Spotify.
Honestly, all those little plus ones, they're good for dopamine, but they honestly are really good for YouTube dopamine too, or whatever the algorithm is called.
Yes, it helps a lot. Shout out to Boar's Hat Gaming for allowing us to have the podcast here. They have a lot of great products, including our playmats. Go ahead and get one.
There's a lot of playmats from last year's MagicCon. If anybody wants some, let me know.
Yeah. So please go ahead and buy products. There's a lot of Duskmorn. You'll need those overlords.
True. And we might even rip some more product because we ran out of all of the stuff that we opened already.
Yeah, and that's it. Thank you so much for tuning into our show.
Shout out to our patrons. It's always the best.
Yes.
And the viewers are just with us for the ride.
Appreciate you being here. Next episode, we are planning to have a special guest while we also talk about some of our recap from the RC. So tune in for that.
Catch you next time.